What's going on, everybody? Welcome to YouTube Confidential, the show where we talk about content creation with content creators. We talk about why we do it. We talk about how we do it. And we talk about sometimes, is it worth doing? I couldn't be happier to have it. And I say this a lot, but this guy is one of the people that when I first started watching YouTube and I was late to the party, I found this guy and I was like, all right, I'm into this. What other channels are there? It was Comic Book Girl 13, then it was you, and then I spread out because I was like, nah, it's going to be a bunch of nerds just talking, and I'm not going to like it. And then I saw you, and I was like, it looks like I could have some beers with this guy. It looks like he could hang on a construction site. He doesn't have 80 pop figures behind him. This looks like somebody I could listen to. It is Smokescreen. If you're watching this, you know who he is, but I'll let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what he does. I believe it's Game of Thrones that you cover in Star Wars.
Yeah, pretty much. Thanks for having me on, Justin. Appreciate it. Yeah, Chris from Smokescreen here. And I primarily do Game of Thrones, which is kind of a problem, but because I'm kind of boxed in. Didn't intend to be that way, but yeah, I do Game of Thrones, Star Wars, and Westworld during the Westworld season. So that's coming soon. Looking forward to that. But that's pretty much it. I'm starting to venture out and do some gaming on the gaming channel on Twitch, and I do have a vlog channel that I play with every once in a while, but not enough. So this is the main thing, though. The main channel is kind of the bread and butter for now.
I was going across some of your earliest videos, and I found a video that I think you were going over Batman versus Superman. I think the movie had not come out yet. In this,
yeah, that was the first video essentially, and because I started the channel in January of 2015, and I went out and bought a camera, and it just sat there for a couple of months. And I was like, I mean, this is odd. So I pulled it out. I was like, I'm going to make this video because I heard this movie was announced. And I'm like, there's no way fucking Batman can beat Superman and if they don't pull the kryptonite trick, which is, so I was like, yeah, let's do a video. And it was so odd sitting there talking to a camera with nobody in the house as if I was, talking to a buddy across the room. But that's been my approach the entire time. Just talking to somebody, having a conversation.
Yeah, and that comes across even in this video. And one of the main things that I really enjoyed about the video is number one, there was a little bit of a surprise. And I will say that a lot of people's first videos, and like my videos still today, I sometimes will wake up and with a cold sweat and be like, shit, what did I post?
I do too, believe me.
But this was not too bad. But what was different about it, and this goes along with something that I've been talking about with my own channel, is that it's funny how you start off with a certain idea of what the channel is going to be, and it turns into something else. Because you approach this video as if talking about fandom, we'll just call it fandom. Like I made up the term. Yeah, it's mine. Coining that right now. But yeah, it was like a that was off the beating path for your channel. It was, well, we're gonna do something a little bit different today. We're gonna talk about a movie because I also like some geek culture and all this. I'm like, well, what the hell else was he doing? And you brought up politics, and I know you a little bit. We've had interactions, and it really surprised me when I heard it was politics that you're going after, because you're not a confrontational guy in politics, especially. I mean, this was 2015, but that's still a pretty freaking hostile time to go out there and be putting out political views. So was that your main driving force? Because everybody has a driving force for why they go out and buy a camera. You're not just
it started, like I said, we were talking earlier. It was more of I'm going to do a YouTube channel. And it's going to be a little bit of everything. But before you do the research and learn YouTube and the algorithm and tags and titles and SEO and all that shit, you're like, I'm just going to do this and it's going to be great. And so you're like, yeah, I can do politics and then I can talk movies. And then, of course, that's not the reality. You have to, kind of hone in on the genre or whatever. So originally it was because it was just one of those things where it's kind of like I approach everything, including Game of Thrones. When we get to all that stuff, is common sense to me, is the way I approach things. So initially it was. And then, I wanted to do this little movie thing. And I had mentioned, there'll maybe be some more political stuff, but never really got back to it because I realized, that was a lot more popular than the political stuff. And then, of course, with everything so divided, you're immediately cutting off half your audience or potential audience at that time. So I was like, if I ever do that, I'll do it on a separate channel or whatever. And just let's just go with this kind of fun stuff and stay out of the political world.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well have added religion. Was it going to be an email rant, or was it going to be a how disastrous Trump type of viewpoint that you were holding at the time?
No, it was just I didn't have anything particular in mind other than just common, replying to issues of the day or particular topics or trends or whatever with what I consider to be a common sense point of view. It wasn't going to be overly divisive or anything, I don't think, but just kind of like you see a lot of these popular channels now that are now demonetized because you can't talk politics. So I'm glad I didn't go that route as far as the business aspect of everything. But yeah, it just was just it was going to be like, okay, this happened or somebody said something stupid online, let me respond type thing.
Gotcha. A social commentary on what's happening, not pushing like the smokescreen agenda.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that's how it started in where you are now. And again, there's nothing wrong. I mean, that's a risky move. When I actually am part of an MCN after my channel was deleted, I did take them up on their offer just for the protection. In one of the things when I was signing my contract, they're like, don't talk about politics. You're not going to really do well, which it's kind of like you got to like peddle poison on the internet, at least. I think a few people ride that line fairly well, but I mean, it's a very, very few.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to be anything in that kind of field, you have to get in your own little bubble, and everybody's in their own damn bubble and can't step outside of that bubble. So it's almost pointless.
Yeah, it's not about being right. It's about making the other person, a monster. Everybody would have forgot about that election and just focused on Batman versus Superman, one of the greatest movies of all time. I think that the world would, honestly, so sadly, probably be a better place. I mean, it was a better movie than it was an election. So, I do like to watch everybody's first videos. Nobody watched my first, but no, my first isn't too bad. It's not too bad. I
would hate to watch that video. I think I didn't know anything at all. I literally set it up and like leaned back in the chair. And later on, Val from Because Geek, when I met her later, she was like, "Why do you lean back in your chair?" And I'm like, "Don't you frame yourself?" I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?"
Instagram rules a third.
Yeah, exactly. Which is sad because I was actually going to attend film school at one time, but it had been so long I didn't go. I was going to go to North Carolina School of the Arts and just couldn't afford $70,000. Yeah. But I mean, YouTube was a whole different world. So.
Yeah, funny thing, I was just talking with them. I've been to art school before, and look where I am now. 10 years of DJing. But I did notice the gangster lean, and that stayed for your first few videos. But that's just you chilling, and that is a part of your appeal. I think you've obviously, when you first start doing something, it's awkward and you don't know how to act. You don't want to look like you're trying to be too serious. So, you're chilled and laid back.
Actually was part of it was almost part of the plan though, because I say this a lot. And when people ask, I started this channel, and I know it's kind of cliche almost to say, but I started it just for the conversation, and I started it to talk about things that I would talk about with my buddies around the campfire. So I literally laid back like that as if we were just hanging out and talking about whatever. That was kind of the idea. I didn't want to do the sitting up perfect and framed just right and all that kind of stuff. So I did know that I was aware of what I was doing, but I just didn't put that much thought into it beyond that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's just very interesting because of your laid back, and you do achieve that. And that's what drew me to your channel, was that I felt like this was a guy, because my main concern was this was about 2 years ago when I stopped being a full-time club DJ in Detroit and was moving to North Carolina. And it was a major change in my life. I was living DJing clubs. And, I ended up being a DJ when I was in acting school because a guy just asked me if I liked booze, women, and prime rib. And I said, yeah. And I ended up doing that shit for 10 years. Right. But I always liked to entertain. And now I did screenwriting courses in college, and I also went to Second City and stuff like that. So like, I think we have a similar interest and background in the arts, you know, even whether we dabbled in them, but we both dipped our toes in them. So we found ourselves, you know, into this world of YouTube, and it is kind of hard to approach, but I do mean it when I say you're one of the people that actually made me think I could put my foot in the door. It wasn't because I thought I had talent like you have, because you have a natural charisma and a natural way about you that I'm still very casual and like you're talking with your friends, and it's sincere. And really what I was looking at was I found Comic Book Girl 13, like I was telling you before, and then I came across you. And what I was doing is, because when you're DJing every night, the only thing I use YouTube for was to look at somebody's like song that they wanted me to look at. I was behind, you know what I mean? I was watching Game of Thrones with my ex, and I loved it. And I was reading the books, like not as well as once I moved out here, but I was in on the fandom, but I wasn't in on the fandom. So I thought about YouTubers is just like these geeky, you know, just your classic nerd and stuff like that. And then I saw your channel. I'm like, this is a cool dude that's sitting back. He's being real. He's not trying to like just show us how smart he is, but he's bringing up some valid points that I'm enjoying. And I feel like I could hang out with him and have a beer. You know what I mean? Or be
funny is would you say that, because back then, at least, I got those comments, quite a few of those comments, you know, I feel like I could have a beer with you type of thing, but I also got the you're a Southern redneck, you can't read. You know?
Yeah, you know, you're not deserving of them. There are some people that can't read too well, but still do well. But yeah, you are not one of them. Yeah, but there is that certain thing, because I was, you know, literally changing my whole setting. My whole surroundings were changing, and it led to me finding, you know, this passion and finding an outlet. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, if I would have found out about this like 6 years into DJing, like right when YouTube started, I was prime. I was just out of production school, just out of acting school. I was up on all the technology. I could have killed it, but I was DJing in clubs, you know, making a lot of money.
I mean, same year, it was when I started watching YouTube. I would just watch. I'd be at work, worked in IT for 20 years. And I would just look up Michael Jordan clips, you know, because I guess I was getting old. And you know, and I used to play ball. That was my thing before, going to school and all that stuff was basketball. But I started just watching Michael Jordan clips, and then I came across actually Emergency Awesome was the first channel I saw with Game of Thrones, because I'd gotten to Game of Thrones from guys at work, and so I started, you know, watching that, binging it at work when we had downtime, and and I was like, who can I talk to this? I need to talk to somebody about this shit, you know, besides those guys at work. But none of my family and friends had watched the show. But that's how it kind of started. And then I was like, okay, well, let's go from the Batman Superman, which was a type thing, instead of just doing all movies, because you know that's I was still trying to figure out exactly what I was going to do. But yeah, let's talk about this Game of Thrones show, because I'd heard of it and seen it, and then come to find out I'd actually read a couple of books back in my college days, but and had heard of it and whatever. But of course, I think it might have been the Red Wedding that broke the internet, and I was like, okay, let me check this out. And glad I did, because there's never been I don't think there'll ever be a show like it again, or books for that matter.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Do you think that if it wasn't for Game of Thrones that you would have stayed on YouTube?
In some way, probably, because we were talking about earlier, I just like to talk. Honestly, I just like to have conversations about whatever, a million different things. And I've always described myself, like you were saying before, you thought you would come on YouTube and see a bunch of quote unquote nerds or whatever. But I've always described myself as a jock nerd. You know what I mean? So I'm into everything. I mean, I was the kind of the tall athletic guy, but I also like to read, which I guess is an anomaly. I'm not sure. Exactly.
But no, I mean, what do you think it is that drives people like you and me, if I dare put myself in the same?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you touched on a little bit with the art thing, because like you said, you were in the DJ stuff, and I actually was, dabbled in DJing myself. So there, and I've come from a family of artists. So I think there's something there with the art aspect. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think that I'm creating this fabulous art on YouTube videos. Don't get me wrong. I am a content creator, and I do want to entertain, but I don't consider it like, oh, here's this awesome masterpiece and comparing it to some actual art.
So like a video essay, do you ever consider any videos you make video essays per se, like a nerd writer or a even wisecrack to it in Screen Prism to a point, or do you consider it mostly all opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really have I don't consider anything a video essay on my end. I just, something pops on my head and I just, okay, let's talk about it. So I'll set up everything and record. So it's really just that I wish there was some magical formula I had that I could say was that made something decent, but it's really not. It's really just because especially in Game of Thrones stuff, I don't want to repeat everything. And there's been, it's been going on for years now. It's just the same old stuff. So I try to let it come to me. I don't really try to plan out. I try to let it come to me and don't force it. But I think back to what I was saying, it's that aspect of, like I mentioned, I was wanting to go to film school and I went and I got accepted. I couldn't afford to go. And then kind of like, oh, well, that's not going to happen. Apparently I would have went to school though that year, whatever year that was now, with Steven Spielberg's son to School of the Arts. Apparently he was going to go that year, but that was a cool process to go through. And, but I do think it just all stems from some artistic place, you know what I mean? But then I figured, okay, because everybody's trying to figure out what am I good at? That's what you're told anyway. Find out what you're good at, right? Find your passion, what you're good at. Everybody's good at something. I think I was just good at talking. I was a martial arts instructor for many, many years and then had my own school for several years. So I never had any, public speaking classes or training or anything like that. So it just kind of came natural, just speaking. So I figured, okay, well, I can just talk a lot. So I might as well do something with it.
Yeah, I think that maybe it's because I'm the same way. I can speak better to, a crowd of people than I can to one person one-on-one. I think that it is a sense of comfort, ironically enough, that a lot of content creators, at least I can speak for myself, have that. Sometimes I feel like, the best way for me to communicate is through, we can call it art, video essays, whatever, but, creating something and it's fulfilling. That, there's this urge that's kind of hard to explain, but it's not that we just want to talk about anything either, because if you just like talking, I understand you're good at talking, but that's how you express yourself the best. So when you're passionate about something, whether it be basketball, whether it be politics, whether it be Batman versus Superman, you express yourself through the medium that you best know how to express yourself, which has now obviously become a very comfortable setting on YouTube for you, and you have gathered, a good following. I think that the people that follow you are truly people that care about the series, because you always provide information that it's looking at something differently. I might not agree, but I'm going to look at it differently. Right. And I don't feel like you're trying to shove it down your throat and you're not sitting there saying, I don't know if you guys caught this, but guess what? I did. And you're all fucking stupid for not catching it. So, right. But, it's a thin line to ride. And I think ability to just talk to the camera and do it with very little jump cuts and it's something I've been guilty of doing long nights of trying to push out a video. It gets looking worse than Philip DeFranco. But I was watching it and I was observing. I was like, it's pretty natural. Like I told you, the first video I caught that you had live music on in the background, and just from, obviously like, well, it doesn't even take production work, but I'm like, that's risky. I'm like, because if he has to make a cut here, he's got music in the background. It's going to be 10 times worse, 10 times more obvious, but it's just an overall, what you want to say. You're not trying to push a point that you don't believe in. You're not trying to push a point because it's popular at the time, and right. You're not trying to cash in on subs. You're speaking what you truly believe. And it might sound stupid to some people that are actually embedded in this fandom, and I don't mean just content creators, people that are subscribers, I feel will understand the difference between content like yours and content like others. There are people that you see when you read Watchers on the Wall, okay, and there's a news brief, you can expect at least 5 top channels to have a video out within that hour.
Yes.
Or at least within that day. And those videos provide the same information that article did. Sometimes less, as are almost always not as well conveyed as the article. But you go, you see those videos and they kill it. And then you see people in the comments and they are praising them. Whatever. Sometimes I'll do quick videos, do give quick news updates because I do enjoy them every once in a while. But people that make a channel off it gets a little bit annoying to me. It gets a little bit frustrating because not only for somebody like me that's trying to grow a channel, but for channels that I see of substance like yours, does that bother you? Does that ever influence you to go away from the I just want to have a conversation path, the I just want to?
Well, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying to a degree. I mean, I can see is because I've done a couple of those too, but it's usually for the bigger news, the more, not just kind of, Macy Williams was spotted in, Belfast.
Is that true?
I don't know. I'm just saying. So I've done a few of those too, but it's usually the bigger news. So, I mean, I can see it also as a service because a lot of people don't read Watchers on the Wall or winteriscoming.net or subscribe, follow them on Twitter or whatever. So I can see it as a more, if it fits your channel, and then that's part of your kind of content, so to speak, is to provide updates about filming news and all that stuff. I don't have a problem with that per se. But there is, and also you got to look at it from the business side. If you're planning on doing this for a living, there is a business side to consider, and you do have to put out content. And sometimes you just don't have that original thought, or there's not a great theory right now, or like right now, everything's kind of played out. There's no really new things. So I will not put out a video just to put out a video. So I do think a lot of people probably do that, but at the same time, you can understand from a financial perspective if you're trying to go full time. All I would say is it's a numbers game because you do have to think about the business side of it, and every video you put out there is a window into your world. And if somebody sees a video where you're just like you were saying, reading the news and just repeating what they say, then that could actually hurt you, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not gonna down anybody for any content they put out because I do understand. I could, because I've done some of that myself as far as news, but you could look at it like as a service, I guess you could say. This channel does not only theories but also filming news and whatever. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it's maybe I shouldn't say it's frustrating. It's a little bit perplexing to me. It's a little bit confusing because I want to know what people are getting out of it. And like I said, I've started trying to do those videos where I don't even do voiceover. I just I will put and it is almost sometimes verbatim. And I do very few of them, but I see that as supplementing because I am also trying to build up, a base and trying to,
right.
Enough to actually improve my channel. I'm not near the point where I could live off it, but the point where I could, buy some equipment and get a few more Patreons and stuff like that. So I definitely see supplementing and stuff like that. I guess the question comes down to, because it's not down in because I'm like I said, I spent the first few months of content creation just despising content that I felt like I was superior. I was too good to make. And there is the business side no matter what, because it's like, who are we making videos for? So it does make me question what the fandom wants. And it makes me question what is the duty of a content creator? Like, what do you feel that your videos should provide when you make a video? Like,
right.
What do you set out to do? Do you set out to inform? Do you set out to make people question something? What does each video achieve? I guess it's a little bit of an odd little area that I find a lot of content creators in, because I feel a lot of people's work does border on video essays because it's, highly intellectual. And so it's like, when you go out and you make a video, what are you looking to accomplish with it?
Honestly, it's just I'm trying to put out I've always approached everything like just even going back to just the things we touched on earlier with just talking in general from a common sense approach. So I think that when I like to speculate, I like to speculate on what I've seen and what I've read. I won't do spoilers and all that stuff or leaks, I should say, potential spoilers, because I like to speculate. So. For example, if you take that news piece where there's an actor spotted here or whatever, I would use that to speculate what that could be and see how close I could get. But I just try to approach everything from a common sense perspective because, I mean, here's the thing. A lot of people like to say George R. R. Martin, specifically tied to Game of Thrones and Ice and Fire, but he breaks tropes. So yeah, he does, but he just really doesn't overuse them. So there's still a pretty straightforward story. There's still good guys and bad guys. It's not every, you know what I mean? So I try to approach it from that common sense perspective. I know a lot of people like to bash Dan and Dave in the show, right? And say that they're horrible writers and they have no ability when it comes to not going off George R. R. Martin's material, which is could arguably be partially true. But at the same time, we just don't know how much material they have from Winds of Winter and all these other and possibly even Spring. I think they'll have more material than we think. We're not insiders who know. So I try to approach it from a common sense perspective. And I always lay out everything in a way where, if you've seen, where if I have I think is an original theory, I'll still put it out there that, look, this may not be original because I've read so many things and saw so many videos. I could have saw something like this 6 months ago or read it, but I don't really approach it to try to do anything but give my opinion in a common sense way and just kind of honestly, I really actually, when I say I want to hear from you guys as far as comments, I actually do. I spent the first year or more, probably up until right at a year ago, and I literally responded to every single comment. That was what it was about for me. And I had so many people say, reply, hey, I just subscribed because I didn't think you'd actually respond. So it is for me actually about a conversation. And I know a lot of people say that, but I really mean that, you know what I mean? So, which is why I do the live streams now.
No, I didn't see you guys there. I'm Justin Thomas, and I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did enjoy that video, make sure to check out some of our other videos, maybe right here, possibly right there. But make sure to subscribe right there, and we'll see you guys soon.